jump back. Thanks all for coming. I will be starting off because we are the kindest, so I get to go first. I will be talking about how we modeled rent prices inside Topia. The model I will be introducing is not my own, even though in my previous life I used to be a data scientist, but here now I'm a data and reporting product manager, so slightly different role. Hearing what people are asking, what is Topia? So all of these people here having these cool t-shirts, and maybe somebody else who doesn't have that cool t-shirt, we are building software that help companies to move their people around the globe. You might think that, is it really a big business, or why are we doing this? The main question what companies have, and also people themselves when they move have, is how much does it cost? So we have close to 50 different items that we track that in connection to these people moving. People are different. They have different sized families. Somebody moving with a harp, somebody moving with a python or a ferret. So all of these things need to be taken into account when planning somebody's move. The cool thing is that for each of these lines, we can have a machine learning model, and we will, and that will totally disrupt the whole industry, like how data is provided. So this is obviously awesome. The work of the person whose work I'm presenting today is planet's best data scientist, Ardo. He looks more or less like that, and he's the one who has built this model that I will be introducing, and based on that model, there's a patent pending also.
But you're also calling him Canadian unicorn.
Oh yes, he lives in Calgary, so we call him Canadian unicorn, because he's a unicorn. So for each of you, if you're moving to the new city, and you're not going there just for the weekend, you need to stay for a long time, and a major issue is where in this massive new city that I'm going to can I afford to live? You can Google, and there's average prices for the cities, even going into neighborhood resolution, but average doesn't serve you. You move with your 2 kids and the dog, and you have to be close to the school, or that your office is there, you have to be close to that. Where is the best place? Like, how should I pick my best place? This is something that we want to improve on. So we set out to build a model to be able to give you at the city neighborhood resolution rent prices. In order to build such a model, what do you need? You need some way to divide the city's geography up. We started off using zip codes because we started off building model for San Francisco. That didn't turn out so well, because if we started going to some other cities, zip codes didn't work so well. And also, if you move to a random new city, you have no idea what the zip codes mean. You want to know, like, you might know the neighborhoods, everybody can relate to that. Yes?
What can be the reason for zip code not working so well? Is it that it covers such a broad area, or?
Because zip codes were brought to life in order to help people distribute mail, and they do not correspond to how people like to view neighborhoods. Like that doesn't normally happen.
So does it mean that one zip code can
yeah, it can be
both cover like part of poor neighborhood and part of rich?
Exactly. Like
okay.
they don't divide cities up how humans view cities. It's a different logic. Also, in different cities, there are, like, what I've said, like some other methods how the places can be divided. If you go to, I don't know, Tokyo, what is close to a subway station or a metro station is much more important than the zip codes there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, obviously, if we want to know how much something costs, we need the rental price. What we gather is monthly rent, how many bedrooms the property has, what's its location, longitude and latitude, and what kind of house property type it is, if it's in a house or if it's an apartment. There are obviously things that go into that. For example, we cannot take just anything. We set some limits to what how much the monthly rent can be to rule out fake ads and room shares and other weird things. And also, if we gather this data, some of the properties can be listed in multiple times, so this has to be taken into account for. So if this data is gathered, we can set out to build the model. And we use a Bayesian model. So in order to do that, first we have to figure out like what is the assumption. Like the general world, I mean, everyone here knows that the rents follow the log norm distribution. And we actually verified that. This is done in London example. We see that if we just look at the distribution for the rents in normal terms, then this is a bit skewed. And if we do the transformation to logarithmic scale, then this resembles more or less a Gaussian. So this assumption is valid, and we can continue with the modeling. And so in this situation, what we actually this enables us to model a distribution, a mean, mu, and a variance. So we can set up a system that provides these distributions for these parameters, the mean and the variance, rather than just giving one number. So, but this is just it doesn't give us much information of actual properties. So we tried to add a little bit of cleverness into it. Instead of just looking at the average price as such, we thought that maybe we could look at the number of bedrooms that the properties have and include that into the parameter space. So alpha here is the price level in the whole urban area, and then we can have beta is the bedroom count coefficient that determines, if you add a bedroom to the apartment, how much does that affect the average price. So remember that we are working in the log space. So the equation is looks like that. And if we run the calculations, then the coefficients for the parameter values are like those. Alpha is 6.84 and variance is 0.38, then beta is 0.26. So that can be interpreted that if that every additional bedroom increases the rent by a factor of 1.3 times. So if you have a 3-room bedroom versus a 1-room bedroom, that means that the whole rent goes up 2.2 times. So in London's example, we saw how a bedroom count determines the rent price. If we have from 0 to 4 bedrooms. On the F plot, that works. On the F plot, this thing is just turned on its side. So here is approximately the average, which is here plotted in the middle. So this gives like a maybe little bit easier way of understanding it, and you can also see the spread a bit better. So London looks like that. But you don't live in London, you live in some specific area in London. So how to increase the resolution and get to know if you go to your specific area in London, how much do you have to pay in rent there? And for that, we built an hierarchical Bayesian model. So we use 3 levels of geometry. There's the first level, which is the bounding box. That's just a rectangular that is drawn around the whole city. Then we used neighborhood polygons. There are neighborhood polygons available for some cities, but we didn't use those. We generated our own using the Voronoi partition, because we know the center points of the polygons, and then the Voronoi distribution just allows to separate the space surrounding these center points in a, let's call it, optimal way. And then we use the S2 cells, which is what Google uses. This is a mathematical construct that can hierarchically decompose a sphere into a compact representation of regions or points. And there can be up to, from 0 to up to 30 levels. Each level has different, in terms of maps, like a different resolution. And we use these level 13 cells that are more or less 1 square kilometer area. So London neighborhoods look like this. These are the Voronoi polygons separated. And the S2 space in 13 level S2 looks more or less like that. So in order to make advantages of both of these, because the neighborhoods actually represent how people understand the neighborhoods, and these make it easy for the calculation. But they don't have any they have no idea about how we like to segment our cities. But to use better features from both of these methods, we combine these in the modeling. So this is an example neighborhood in London. Harrow, it's called. I believe this is because when Arado did the data science incubator, the university was in London. And on this graph, the odd-shaped things are the neighborhood polygons, teal color mapping, and the purple squares mark the S2 cells. So each neighborhood is can be marked with multiple cells. So to make sure that each S2 cell properly affects the results for the neighborhood, that they cover, the contribution of each is weighted by the ratio of area covered by the neighborhood. So instead of doing a model that is city-wide, we now do a model for each of these cells. What it means for the equation is that for the average rent equation is that we still have the city-wide rent parameter, and we still have the neighborhood, the bedroom number coefficient, and we just add something here that marks the S2 component, and we add something here. This is the weighing factor that marks the neighborhood polygon. So it just adds layers of complexity and also resolution, and we can make it understandable for humans. Yes. So if you are very careful and count how many S2 cells this neighborhood touches, you can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it touches 9 different cells, and these are here. Each of these cells, rent distribution is plotted here. You can see that inside the neighborhood there can be areas where the rent is different. So it even goes inside the neighborhood, and you can quite accurately estimate how much the rent would be in that area. So in average, the city can be divided or is marked by 8,000 of these cells, but obviously it depends on the city area. In London example, we have almost 1,400 neighbourhoods and almost 4,000 level 13 S2 cells. And running the calculations for London, for its different neighbourhoods, we get this. What? We get this average rent price distribution in different neighbourhoods. We can see that in London, the most expensive neighbourhoods are Mayfair and Belgravia, and this is also, and here in Belgravia and in Soho, the spread is quite high. These lines are median, which is the 50th percentile, and 75th percentile and 25th percentile. And those two, Harrow and Slough, for those the price variance is lower. So if we do that for the whole city, we get like this very neat, in my mind, very neat representation of all the rental prices, how the distribution of rental price is throughout the whole city. So if you want to go and move somewhere, we in our application combine this data, the rent data, also with the commute data. So if you know that your future office will be somewhere, then this is taken into account if you are going to go and select where you want to live. You can select like what kind of, how many bedrooms you need, and slide the rent also. So this is one of the examples of how we do data science and how we have employed data science in an actual product. Questions?
You just made it also clear.
Lovely then. Yeah.
Level 1 was clear.
Fight it out.
Have you tried like using, so if I understood correctly, like I have a neighborhood, for example, it lives inside like 9 whatever S2 cells,
yeah,
with this resolution. Have you tried to actually maybe use different granularity, like taking many cells of different levels that will kind of approximate this polygon?
We have tried something smarter. We have tried to use the population density in order to select the levels of S2 cells. But actually, what is neat about this technique is that it unties the modeling or the algorithm from different cities. Like you obviously have to collect the rent data for the specific cities, but how to slice up the city and how to take account like how different cities separate them into neighborhoods, this is solved kind of like automatically.
And on that, like follow-ups on this, when you took the weighted whatever price per cells, so how, like, what was the weight of each S2 cell that kind of takes your, creates your polygon? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, here this weight, what is this weight?
So this is like, because this, wait, sorry. So the polygon is here, and there are many like S2 cells, and sometimes the S2 cells goes over to another what is it called? Neighborhood polygon. And the weight is the area proportional.
The area that is inside
Actually, like, yeah, if this is like if the city boundary goes in a way that the polygon touches the city boundary, then this is always normalized, that this results into one Yeah.
Do you buy the data or do you use some free data?
We have actually like various sources. Some data we buy, some data we use free APIs or yeah, like gather using these APIs. But some data we buy. But it depends on the location.
The question was over there.
What does it mean uncolored cells?
Uncolored. These are just uncolored for the illustrative purposes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This.
Okay, there was over there another question.
On the same slide, I just wanted to ask. So you assign coefficients based on the square, but wouldn't it make more sense to assign it based, for example, on the density of the real estate objects or the square of the residential estate? And because, as I understand it now, assumption is the density is equal across the whole C2.
Yeah, the area. That might be valid, but I'm not really sure if Ardo tried it, but I see that it might be, like the value of that might be lessened by the data quality that you get. Like how can you be sure that you, or how do you measure the density of properties offered? Yeah, I see that there might be tricks there, tricky road there.
Yes, one question over there.
How different is the data around the world? I assume that quality of data is very different. If you look at London, like you said, in one place you use zip codes, in another place you have to use metro stations.
You mean to get the center for the neighborhood polygons? I cannot tell you any like number or whatever. I can say you that it varies, but it's obviously not very helpful for you. But
what I'm trying to ask is that did you find in some city, did you find that the data is not too good, or how did you manage with that?
I don't have this like city to city wide. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone can comment on the city to city comparisons?
No, the question was basically how you measure the quality of the data. Because you consume a lot of the data, how you decide that that's good data to rely on, and that's a shitty data you will not rely on.
I guess it comes out if there are some neighborhoods for example something, and you know what it should be, and then those it doesn't add up or something like that. But the issue here is that like there could be neighborhoods for which their rental offer is very low. So obviously for those it can be problematic to say how good it is, or if the yeah.
And then obviously the question comes out that imagine in 1 square kilometer you have one really old building, not renovated, 3-bedroom and really fancy new 3 bedrooms. What would you take the average? Is it like it's plus minus 36.6?
Yeah, at this point, yes. But that's how it is.
So
obviously, like as we go into it and we see that sometimes it really behaves oddly. Like we had issues with some areas in London where Elton John lives, and we said that you can stay there, and obviously no one could. But just like if we scrape the data, we found something, and we don't go over each of these things manually, and it's a model.
One question over there in the back.
I just wanted to continue. I think on this question, what is more important is what's the sample of the data set or the prices, for example. Have you found that it is even for various districts? Are there any discrepancies in terms of the volume and how it affected your weighting? And how did you normalize this modes of central tendency for different areas, given that there might be, for example, one district is popular, there are like 1,000 advertisements.
Yeah, yeah.
Another is like maybe 10. And another thing is also, what's the period that this data was aggregated across, because often there may be quite significant season volatility, or as the time goes, sometimes price change dramatically.
Yeah, these are exactly all the valid things. I don't know. I cannot give you like analytics about this or metrics, or actually like for either like the seasonality or how we gather, or we gather the data regularly, but and also because right now we are concentrated like one city at a time, because our customers are moving to a specific location. So it can be like some cities in the focal spot for some time, and we gather more for that, and we like tune the models and do like further analysis if the feedback comes like something is inaccurate. But at the moment we don't have like this very broad system to measure the data quality as such.
But in very general terms, what was your major source for gathering this data, and what's the general volume? Like, so how many, for example,
I don't know. I don't know the volumes. Yeah.
Gone into the model?
Yeah.
So the overall data points that we actually have for neighbourhoods is 250 million to 500 million data points. So that's across the neighbourhoods for a city. That's including pricing models and everything else. So it reflects the prices, etc.
Oh yeah.
On the seasonality point, we actually just did an investigation we were doing a launch pitch for a very large Seattle company, who was very concerned because Seattle itself has a large amount of seasonality in their prices. It's spring, summer is about almost 100% more expensive than winter. So they were very concerned as to how we could actually model seasonality in here. So though we haven't released it yet, we did a model for San Francisco, New York, and Seattle, looking at actually, because we had several years worth, I think it was 5 or 6 years worth of data that we'd accumulated over that time. So we looked at and modeled that seasonality, and we're looking at putting a kind of seasonality coefficient into there as well. It was something we're looking at for key cities where customers had really identified to us that they were very seasonal cities.
Thank you. Kirill's had a question as well.
Yeah, I feel like my question was partially answered, but maybe in whole. So that model, speaking of different cities, do you update the model for all the cities at the same time? For example, the seasonality.
No, we update the model when we get new data. But it normally is city by city.
Well, I should have said formula, I guess.
Formula? No, that.
The seasonality is a new parameter. In the
yeah,
formula.
This is like something that we get a request, or we see that in some areas this is inaccurate, and it's worth our effort to try to remodel. But yeah, this is an ongoing process, obviously.
Because one thing that apparently was missing for me, as I come from Latvia, from the model is the floor. Because in Riga the prices can vary twice, maybe 3 times if it's a different floor.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's like the choice of parameters, what we go by right now. It's like we set off with that.
And I had a second question actually just about this picture here. Why are the sizes different?
What's
the sizes for the areas?
No, it's just the same color or next to each other.
Maybe.
Okay. So the most granular is probably this one, something like approximately, and this one is like four size of the next to it.
We currently actually use variable size S2 cells to
the density, or
yeah, the density varies from 10 to 13 per
okay,
so
okay.
we have updated that.
Oh yeah, this is from the application, so this is already clever.
We have some places which are close to the water line, and those cells need to be smaller because otherwise they go too much into the water.
Okay.
We had a nice bug where it started taking some data from actually, that was commute data that it took from ferry lines rather than bus lines. So people had very weird results in some places.
A question was over there, yes.
How much time it usually takes to gather like data for a new city? Because it should be like maybe like for city or country.
So
countries with different sources probably.
Yeah. So it depends. Like getting data for a new city in the US it's easier, but if you move to a completely new location, then it can take time. I would say maybe like 2 to 3 months or something like that.
And like how much countries and cities do you have now?
Epic. Huh? Do you know, Mikkel? What was that?
22, 25.
Countries.
For neighbourhood planners.
For the
cities.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you have a way to put in perspective how does investment on the data science you do in terms of like solving this problem is compared to amount of money you make on this feature?
I know that this feature is something that whenever we show it to the client, they go, wow, so it has value.
Yes, but how much value does it convert?
Like
that's not a public company.
Yes, but it needs to stay relevant nonetheless, right? Anyways, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? You can continue your work.